Hello everybody, my name's Andy. I'm a 3D generalist and I am navigating the job market in the current state of the industry. So I wanted to make this video to talk a bit about what it's like looking for work right now and some of the specifics of that. Some of the ways to navigate that process, like how to make yourself look better, what I'm doing to make myself look better, upskilling, stuff like that, and how to spend your time, how to not burn out, how I'm not burning out, how I'm trying to keep momentum with some of the stuff I'm working on. So I think there's a lot to talk about there. So how about we get into it? Let's go ahead and start. I wanted to start with let's just take a peek at what the job market is. Like, what do you do on a day-to-day basis when you're looking for work? Well, one of the first things that I do is I pop over to my LinkedIn, and I come over to this here jobs tab, and I usually start with just a search. You could see some of the stuff I've searched for before, but let's just do 3D artist. It usually gives you a pretty wide swath of stuff here. I have remote on by default because I want to work remote. There's some places that I can work to. I'm within commuting distance of Seattle, so there are some hybrid roles that I'd want to entertain, but for the most part, I do love working remote. I love spending time with my family. Another thing I'll do is I'll go to the date posted, and I'll go to the past 24 hours. Right now I have 10 results, because I found that one of the best ways to get seen is to be first, or at least early. At least it gives you a better chance of somebody, clicking on your profile. So I'm gonna go just poke through here. 3D character artist, that's something I can do. VFX, I do know some VFX, but I'm not quite as adept at a lot of those more advanced processes outside Unreal, like Houdini. So what I'll do is I'll just scroll down here and I'll see. I'm using premium, so I can see how many other people have applied, and this was 141. 141 in the past day. This was posted when? 22 hours ago. So in 22 hours, this has 140 applicants. It does tell you, like, if they're entry or senior or director level. But look, 67% of these guys have a bachelor's degree, similar to me. I do not have a master's, but 20% of these guys have masters. And so you're already like, how am I gonna stand out here? So a lot of the times I'll look at something like this and it's like, well, I don't know if I'm going to put a ton of bandwidth into this application because of my chances of getting it in the first place with how diluted the working pool is. I might look at something else like clicking through some of these animator designer. This was reposted a day ago, but over 100 people. Let's see how far over 100 people. 1,327 total applicants, 110 in the past day. So it is a repost, but still, this company has over 1,000 people to look through, and you're one of those. So yeah, you start looking at the stats of some of this stuff and you start thinking about, like, how do I look compared to the rest of that talent pool? It's pretty bleak, I'd say. So knowing stuff like that, and these are also, you can hit apply and these take you to the website of whatever system this company is using. But a lot of these have like easy applies for LinkedIn where you just click one button and you just answer a few questions. And those tend to have a lot more applicants. But even this one, this is not an easy apply and it still has over 1,000. So yeah, that's not super great. This doesn't even say how much it pays on this one in particular. So that's that popular even with that information blind to it. So yeah, what do you do in that sort of situation? Well, what you do in that sort of situation is you look somewhere else. But the problem is that a lot of these job boards are cross-posted. So you go to one of these other job postings on one of these smaller websites, which there's a lot of different job boards that have similar jobs, and you'll start seeing some of the same jobs posted across all of them. So if you are able to have the bandwidth to keep up with being familiar with what jobs are new, reposted, which ones are getting a lot of traction on LinkedIn, then when you go to those smaller job boards, you can kind of spot which ones are like, oh, this is something that isn't actually on LinkedIn. And I have like there's such a larger chance of being able to stand out against a smaller pool of people. And so I know that, I'm sure people find work through LinkedIn all the time, right? But I think that anecdotally, I think that I'll probably have a lot better chances of getting some human interaction on finding one of those jobs that isn't posted across everything, and you find those little gold nuggets every once in a while. So that being said, that's the state of the market, right? I mean, like that's what people are up against when they're looking for work. And like, being that there's thousands of people looking for work, what are the implications of that with the job itself? I mean, me personally, I have seen multiple jobs that do not pay. They're equity based, or they're basically saying we'll pay you when we get funding, and those will still have hundreds of people applying to them just for that chance of like being able to get in on something like that. So I think what that does is, I mean, me personally, I have like a decade of experience. I'm not like junior. I know that there's a lot of people that have more experience than me, of course, but the reality is that I would work for less because of, how competitive everything is. So I can only assume that people that are in a position of hiring, when you have all these people that are knocking at the door that are really talented and working for less, that doesn't exactly drive wages up in general. I have seen competitive wages on a lot of stuff, but they tend to be larger companies or companies that already have been fully funded by something somehow. So I don't think that's that's probably not going to give a lot of hope to people either. I think that stuff is also kind of tied to the stock market, of course. A lot of these studios are funded by investors, and so if the investors aren't spending their money, then the studios tend to dry up. I think that's part of what's happening with a lot of the larger game studios. So that, of course, is in chaos right now due to the political situation of America. I apologize to the planet for that in general. I don't enjoy the current political situation, but this is like, every day is something is happening that could affect you drastically, like could change your entire life. I mean, like, I did just get laid off from a Canadian company. I'm sure the Canadian-U.S. politics probably didn't help that situation. So what are we kind of trying to get to with this industry? Like, what are we waiting for? What are we working towards? Is it going to get better? I see that stuff all the time. And like, of course, nobody can see into the future to tell what's going to be happening. But I do think that when I see all these talented people going out into the job market, not being able to do anything, like, I think naturally these people are going to find ways for creative output and be able to support their families. And I think that's going to result in a lot of smaller studios, but those are going to take time to get going and to get off the ground. So until those companies get to the point where they're able to hire people at competitive wages, I think it's going to be pretty dry out there. So that's going to force all these people that don't have work in the gaming and VFX sectors to kind of start branching out into adjacent sectors, like data visualization or healthcare, or, I mean, that's what I was just working in, was healthcare. But it's just going to push people further and out from this core industry that is currently suffering, in my opinion. So what do you do with that information? How do you proceed? And I think that what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with, how do I stand out from the crowd? I know that it's a large crowd, but still, I mean, how do I stand out? I think one of the things that you can do is upskill. Like there's a lot of resources available to to add to your skill set and improve your current skill set. So I currently pay for LinkedIn Premium, and they have a pretty cool learning center. So if I go over here and I go back to, I'm on the jobs right now, but there's this little button for LinkedIn Learning Center, and they have a lot of cool stuff in here. Like they have, they'll kind of cater, because there's thousands of courses. They'll kind of cater courses for you if you tell it what you want to do. But so I've done that, and I like for myself, I want to learn Python is one of the first things I want to do, and that's actually going really well. The content on here I've been really pleased with it. But it'll kind of build you a whole path of courses to take to kind of get where you need to be. And they also come with these little certificates that you can add to your LinkedIn and add to your resume, so that's really nice. So I don't think it's as good as like official schooling, but it's also like I can't afford that right now anyways. So I think that this is like a great next best thing. You can also just look for stuff individually. Like you can just do a search for, whatever content you want to learn and see what LinkedIn has to offer. So I think it's better than just going to like a YouTube channel. I think there's tons of great stuff on YouTube, but it can be, sometimes it can be, it's not like you can add a certificate from something on a YouTube channel you learned. It's more like for your own personal knowledge. So there's that. There's, if I wasn't doing LinkedIn, this Learning Center thing, I would probably be doing something like CG Pro. This is run by and started by one of my good friends that I worked with at Pure Imagination, and him and his partner have just like rocked it. They've created such a great learning platform. It's not free though, and that's one of the things that I kind of weighed whenever I was like deciding how I was going to be spending like my learning bandwidth right now. But man, what great content. Everything Unreal and everything Unreal adjacent is probably covered by these guys. So highly recommend them as well. Okay, so after I learn Python, I'll probably try to learn some project management stuff. I always wind up leaning into that stuff whenever I'm working, and I don't ever have the official certification for it. So I'll probably learn some agile stuff and try to get more stuff down on paper that I can put on my resume and be able to show off. So that kind of brings me to the bandwidth issue, right? Like we only have so much time. Right now I'm still finishing out some time from my last contract. I have like a week left. But after that, even, how are you going to divvy up your day? How are you going to spend your time? And there's sort of this contradiction that happens when you're job searching, right? Like how do you stand out in your job search? You upskill and learn new skills and improve your resume and do all of these things besides applying to the jobs. But then if one of the best ways to get a job is to be one of the first ones to get the job, but to apply to it, and if you miss that window, you never get it because you never apply to it because you're spending your time upskilling and working on your stuff. So I find that I like to just cut it down the middle. I'll make sure to keep acquainted with jobs on the job boards, and if I see any low-hanging fruit, I'll go for that. But and I'll prioritize that. So then, if I don't have my Python certificate on there right now, maybe by the time they look at my application, maybe I will. Who knows? But at least then you're kind of keeping momentum with getting yourself out into the job market. And even if it's in a huge talent pool, you're still at least, there's still a chance. It's a small chance, but there's still a chance that that's going to pay out. So, that can be difficult to balance. But another thing that can be difficult to keep your momentum is just a sense of progress. When you're applying to jobs, there is no progress. You're literally putting all this bandwidth into something that doesn't give you anything. There's no positive feedback. There's usually negative feedback, like if you do get feedback, or just a cold rejection, or a warm rejection. But a rejection is a rejection, and it can be hard for you to be pouring yourself into something and that's all you're getting, right? So the upskilling is a good way to balance that out a bit. Like you tend to feel a sense of progress and like accomplishment when you're learning something new, and that can help. But I would really recommend also supplementing that with something else that has like a concrete sense of progress. Like, I mean, I still go to the gym, I work out, you see the weight levels go up, you see your weight drop, your body weight drop. Those are like measurable signs of progress. I love rock climbing, you know, being able to climb things that you can literally look at the numbers and the difficulties on the climbs and be like, I can now climb like 10A, and that feels great. And so whenever you get up to 10B, you're like, that's a measurable sign of progress, and it feels awesome. And the last thing I think is your support network. You know, everybody's different. Some people might not have a great support network, but if you do, you have a family, just don't leave them behind. You know, like, save time, cut time out of all of this to make sure that you're still present and you're still fostering those relationships, because you don't want this unfortunate scenario to like deteriorate the rest of your life along with it. Like, make sure that home life is strong, like, as at the same time as all this. You don't want to lose that. Yeah. So that being said, that pretty much is everything that I wanted to talk about here. That's everything that I'm going through right now. It's like a bunch of upskilling, it's job searching, it's looking through courses and learning, and it's spending time with my family. So it might be bleak, but there's also lots of ways to get that sense of progress to keep you going. I'm brand new to YouTube, by the way, so I'm sure there's tons of stuff I'm doing wrong here. And if you have any suggestions or anything that I could be doing better, just leave me a comment and let me know, because any feedback is great feedback in my opinion. That being said, since I'm a new channel, if you could like the video, if you enjoyed it, if you could subscribe, I think that would be extremely helpful for me and my channel. I will hopefully just see you next time on the next topic. So take care.